What's poppin', y'all, and welcome back to I Do It Myself. I am Wayno. We almost through the week. First and foremost, if you like what it is that I do, hit that sub button and run them likes up. Today, we talking about Gunna. Because everybody been talking about Gunna in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? But today, Fat Joe has some things to say on his podcast with him and Jada. Now, Jada and Fat Joe started this podcast this year. I ain't gonna lie, like, this is the last thing I seen coming. To me, personally, it didn't really make sense. I would have loved to seen a Jada and Styles podcast because of the whole, the aesthetic they built in rap over the years, back and forth. But Joe and Jada put this podcast together. I really believe it's just a Rock Nation play. That Rock Nation was like, yo, y'all two should do a podcast. We gonna get y'all all the sponsors, all the money, and y'all got all the relationships. But they finding their way, right? They finding their way. Now, Joe, he started out this conversation talking to Jada about some things regarding Gunna. At first, he didn't want to say his name, but let's watch the clip and then come back with some commentary on it.
Guys that are the hottest guys in the game, rats. Like, I get a phone call from somebody, he says, yo, man, you got to check this album out. Ever since I assumed you a rat, your people ain't fucking with you no more, I'm not listening. I'm off you, no matter what you do. And I get on the plane and they fuck me. I listened to this album. This album was so good. I was so guilty of this shit. I listened to this album. I said, shit.
Didn't know you talking about Gunna.
I'm not saying throw the flag. Now you got a flag. You got a flag. You have a flag. Because we said we wasn't mentioning names like that.
But you just said all of that and what?
All I said, the album was fire. There's a million rats out there.
Shout that you like his album.
Nah.
And you just said you liked it. You just said you enjoyed it. And then said, nah.
No. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is...
You just said it.
So where is... We don't care no more in hip-hop? You can rap? No, I'm asking.
You can't rap.
But what if you do? You got the #1 album? You got 2 million people on your live? You're this and that. What the fuck is going on Earth? And Gunna ain't right. He just said the gun in the car wasn't his, and there's only one other person in the car with him.
Now, it's a lot of ways to look at this, right? It's a lot of ways to look at this. On one hand, let's go for the obvious. I think that eventually Gunna is going to start. I don't think he's going to get violent, but I think that it's only going to be so many times that people could say something about him without him having something to say back. I'll leave that there. With Fat Joe and Jada, I think that while the music that they made lives in a certain type of timestamp, it lives in a certain type of era where certain things might have not been tolerable. Context matters, right? Context really matters. On the surface level, nobody's gonna look at anything that Gunna's done, or the yes ma'am, him being in court, the gun situation, and have any type of empathy. But when you start to unpack that, you ask yourself, did Gunna put anybody behind bars, right? Like, everybody moves the goalpost for what they see fit or not, but just the context really does matter. Did Gunna's testimony lock anybody up or put anybody behind bars? Did he take the stand against anybody in his case? Did he give the police information on anybody in his case? No, all of that, right? But where Joe goes a little bit left here is for the simple fact that people are now looking at Joe and Jada as like these older guys, right? Jada hasn't been in prison, but his whole brand was D Block and all of that, which is basically built off of the idea of a cell block being a label. We know all of that. Joe has gone to jail, prison for, I believe it was tax evasion or something like that. And everybody represents the streets, right? But are the streets ever dead? Will the streets ever die? I think as long as people get older, the older people get, and they're not willing to have any newer conversations about like the context of a case like that, then it's just gonna stay the way it is because the younger people look at a Joe and a Jada as the OGs. Even for myself, see, I don't follow none of these niggas. Like I'm just keeping it 1,000. I don't follow none of these niggas as to they can sway my opinion, right? But they look at them and they say, well, if Joe says it, and Joe has a reputation online right now, and people are calling him out for being the biggest capper, the biggest liar. Because let's be 1,000. Anybody that says they could rob 70 people, I don't care what age you was, with no weapon, it's impossible, bro. Like, we need all 70 people to corroborate this story before we start giving you any type of fucking credit for an outrageous thing like that. Whole nother thing. But I think people look at that and say, yeah, you can't, you know what I'm saying? We ain't messing with, but he's sitting here speaking on how good the album is and how guilty he felt. I think for that specific space alone is where he goes left and he goes wrong. Because if you really consider Gunna the rat that you saying he is, or he ratted or whatever, then you shouldn't be speaking on his music at all. You shouldn't even be listening to it. And you shouldn't be feeling guilty about it because it's very contradictory. Now, I get it, right? Like, everybody's going to listen to what they want to listen to. And of course, it's going to be conversations of, yo, did you hear this? Or did you hear that? Or is you in tune with this? Or is you in tune with that? But just for Joe to say something like this just goes to show you don't really think that. Because for real, bro, there's situations in everybody's life. Anybody that's been in the street has had to deal with somebody in their life that was a cooperating witness on some sort of level. Whether that was your friend, a family member, somebody you grew up knowing, whatever the case may be, right? But Gunna don't care. He could care less. And the reason why he could care less is because he does have the #1 album on the R&B and hip hop charts on Billboard. That's one place where it starts. The second place where it goes to is Gunna is currently doing a 5K run in Brooklyn. And I'm going to say it again. Gunna is doing a 5K run in Brooklyn because a lot of his brand has shifted into health. It's shifted into fitness. And any and everybody that considers him a rat or whatever, nobody's not going to do anything. So people will ask me the question, yo, Wayno, but how do you feel about rats and I'm going to call it what it is. I'm not in the streets. I don't partake in no illegal activity. Excuse me. No illegal activity. No street activity. I'm not a street nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm not none of that. I'm just putting that out there. I consume people's music. I listen to music. I say if I like it or not. Yeah, some of your actions. I'm gonna talk about your actions as well. In this case right here, I just think that Joe and Jada even having a conversation about, well, Jada basically called it out. Like, bro, you just said that you liked the album. Oh, we said we wasn't gonna mention no name. It's impossible. I don't know if that's like the stitch of the show. If that's, how they play off one another, just trying to be funny and get engagement within how they doing, because they have to be entertaining, right, to be doing a podcast, or if that's how they genuinely feel, or Joe genuinely feels. Because just off the simple fact of you saying, nah, like, you can't do this, you can't do that. But you listening to the nigga album, bro. You listening to the album and you saying you can't believe how really good this album is. It contradicts, and don't get me wrong, I think to be a human being is to be contradicting. I don't think anybody is one way all times from the beginning of their life to the end of their life. I think that everybody goes through phases of things that they find important or things that they could care less about. You know what I'm saying? Things that they could find important or things that they could care less about depending on, what it is that they taking part of. But this is where the shift comes for an artist like a Gunna. Because if he stayed in the space of trying to be some guy that was like, yeah, I ain't, you know what I mean? I ain't YSL no more, but it's up for y'all nigga. He ain't, listen, if you listen to his album, you can see that he's shifted. He's basically he's fully moved on from that shit. Fully moved on. And everybody else that's staying in that space, he about to lap him. I ain't gonna lie, yo. He about to lap him. Now, I get the whole credibility and street nigga shit and all of that, and I understand it. I come from that. I come from an environment where your reputation in the street holds more weight than a lot of holds more weight than music if you're a music person. But this is the thing that I say. All of these dudes is fathers, uncles, whatever. We will all of these people, they will all preach that they don't want their children or their close family members to partake in any of this bullshit. And why? Because their friends that partake in it, they, once they get to a certain point, stay far away from that. But it gets confusing because when you talk like this, when you talk like this, it's hard for you to move on from that. Now listen, there's also another controversial subject that we need to have a little bit of discourse about. Desiree Perez. See, I don't know Desiree Perez. I worked at Rockefeller. I never worked at Roc Nation. I've only met her like one time, and that's when the 40/40 clubs had like first opened. Desiree Perez is a businesswoman, but at one point in time, she partook in the streets, right? She partook in the streets. She was supposed to have been doing some sort of business dealings with the cartel, right? She's supposed to have been doing some business dealings with the cartel and been a cooperating witness within that space, right? On the cartel. Now here's where the contradiction comes up. Y'all know damn well y'all not gonna talk about no Desiree Perez. And I'm gonna keep it 100. The reason why I don't talk about Desiree Perez is like I don't like to play them. I never wanted to be on YouTube and be on this channel discussing like down to the oil street politics. I ain't want to be I don't want to be the guy who talks about all the gang shit. Like that's all I talk about is gang shit. Like my depth comes from life. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk about life, decisions, music, love sometimes, fatherhood, all that type of shit. But when you start talking like that, this is where people gonna start attacking y'all platform, yo. Because the way that YouTube works, see, YouTube is a different world than anywhere else. You could be absolutely nobody on Instagram and be the most popping person on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? You could be the biggest person anywhere else, and on YouTube it's a different story. But in the YouTube world, bro, y'all might not understand the disdain that people have specific for Roc Nation overall, and specifically the Desiree Perez situation. And not because of Nicki Minaj, because this is a conversation that 6ix9ine was even bringing up, and he brought it up regarding Meek Mill, and we all know why everybody won't address it on that same level when they got to talk about everybody else, right? They won't address it because Desiree a motherfucking boss. She a big decision maker. Fat Joe even said one time how, I think it was Desiree said it was a deal he was supposed to get, and she got on the phone, said, yo, yeah, he's with us, and then the deal was up and all of that. So we know that there's a space of you being political. You know what I mean? There is a space of you being political, and I respect it. You know what I'm saying? I respect it. People, if you say, listen, I'm never saying nothing about her. You know what I mean? We get money with her. That's what you living by, cool. But keep in mind that when you bringing up a Gunna like that, and y'all talking about you can't rat and you can't this and you can't that, y'all are managed by Roc Nation. Now, do y'all partake in criminal activity? No. Y'all partake in business together. All of y'all is in business together. And y'all have enough understanding and enough business acumen to turn the cheek and say, oh, that was different. Like what's his name? What's his name? Like Red in Friday. Oh, that was different. Y'all know that y'all got enough. Oh yeah, y'all not gonna say nothing about that. But that's where y'all start playing a funny ass game, because then people start to look at y'all podcast as funny in the light. And of course, you know, people attack me for numerous reasons. Oh, well, Wayno, you don't keep the same energy for academic. I tell y'all personally, the reason why I don't be wanting to talk about this nigga all the time, it ain't got nothing to do with no relationship we got or not. It's just that it's hard to get from under a shadow of a nigga. Like, you know what I mean? And I just, like, every time I'm getting out of shadow, here comes something that somebody wants me to dig deep on. Now, don't get me wrong. There are gonna be instances where I talk a little bit more in depth about that situation concerning me. But right now, let's just stay on the subject. Y'all just gotta watch yourselves, man. Y'all gotta watch yourselves, because if y'all gonna say that for Gunna, you can't now move the goalposts and be like, oh no, but then we ain't gonna. You know what I mean? It can't be one way for this and the other way for that. But that's just people being humans, and that's just people being contradicting. I think to be a human being is to contradict yourself in a lot of ways. Tupac Shakur showed me that. That nigga wanted to save all niggas, and he wanted to take their lives too. He wanted to talk down on the hoes and uplift the black sisters in the hood. Listen, it's got to be some sort of duality in people's lives. I just hope they recognize it for what it is. This is I do it myself. For the ones that rock with me, know how we doing. For the ones that don't, eventually will. Catch you on the next one. Peace.